Hello everyone, this is POW Ponder on Weather. In this update, we've got a big storm coming with a major snowstorm developing, and ice storm warnings are already in place with major travel impacts coming over the coming days. So welcome back everyone. This is an afternoon update. Let's go ahead and take a pause and hit the like button to help the YouTube algorithm. And also share this video as well to get it out there as many people as possible. If you hadn't subscribed to my channel already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and notification bell. I do daily updates every morning and sometimes twice a day during busy times like this. So we got a lot to cover today. So let's delve into the details. Let's zoom out on the US view here currently. And man, we've got widespread 70s down here. It's pretty much the middle of springtime. It's springtime weather down here in the south. A lot of the action is the midsection of the country in the upper Midwest where they've got that snow flying. But things are going to be rapidly changing for tomorrow with a very strong cold front moving south. Let's zoom in to where the snow is flying currently right now, where we got 19 degrees in Sioux Falls and snowing. The snow has reached all the way into Fort Dodge and as well as at Des Moines, where they're already picking up some heavier snow in and around the Des Moines area, heading into Cedar Rapids. That is going to continue to fly in that area with a good 4 to 8 inches, upwards to 10 inches in the Des Moines area. That continues to bake in a beeline south. But let's take a look at the overall watches and warnings, because there's a lot of them, guys. We got all those areas in pink. We got those winter storm warnings in place. That's where the snow is flying currently right now, where they're expecting 4 to 8 inches, upwards to 8 to 12 in and around the Des Moines area. You start getting into the purple shaded areas, that's your area of anywhere from 2 to 5 inches of snow flying. All these brown shaded areas, that's the high wind watches and warnings as well. That you've got very high winds going to be dropping down to the south of 50 to 55 mile per hour gust. Those are some red flag warnings out here in West Texas where it's just been bone dry. So it's a combination of just dry conditions and low humidity is high fire danger. So that's been extreme conditions out there. But man, look at all the blue heading up to northern Arkansas here, in and around more or less into Tennessee, going into Kentucky, all of the Carolinas, all up the East Coast with a lot of winter storm watches, and then all these pink areas and these purple shaded areas. That is an ice storm warning, guys, of anywhere from a half inch to almost 3/4 of an inch of ice. So that is some dangerous stuff that's going to be developing. Let's take a look at the overall HRRR model and the latest guidance and what's been noticeable with the short range high resolution guidance. As it's traveling further south, it's picking up speed and moving further south as the cold front is plunging it further south. So it's making a beeline with that heavier snow into Missouri, getting into eastern parts of Kansas here, eastern parts of Oklahoma. There's the 540 line with those tight isobars. That's indicative of those very heavy winds are going to be coming in on the backside in the overnight hours. I think more or less the cold front runs through, say, the Dallas-Fort Worth area around midnight tonight, and that continues to plunge south, as does the snow. And the latest update brings the snow just a little bit further south again. We've been talking about this, and now we're actually talking some snow flurries or even some light snow in and around the Dallas-Fort Worth area, more or less, especially North Dallas, around the Red River, Northeast Texas, but not expecting much, but still indications where you could at least see some flurries tomorrow, especially east of I-35 here, with some snow in and around the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But that snow will reach as far south as places into Louisiana, with that latest guidance of the high resolution model continues to drive this system further south. But on the backside, we've got very high winds. These winds are going to be cranking, and you're going to feel it's going to be winter in a big way, up to 40 to 50 to 55 mile per hour wind gusts starting around midnight tonight. And then those will dive all about 12-hour time span with these winds, very high winds. So batten down the hatches with those high winds are going to be coming in with a vengeance And as this moves across, it's going to bring all the colder air along with it with that diving cold front. We're talking high of 77 Dallas today. This is wind chill at 3 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow of 20. That's a 57-degree difference, feels like, with the body. You're going to feel that in a big way with these single-digit wind chills dropping southward. With all that cold air continuing to dive south, we'll have a secondary low developing, and that's when we'll have our snowstorm head off to the east. But that'll bring the snow with it. So we've got snow actually breaking out in northern Louisiana, guys. Yes, we're talking snow in northern Louisiana, snow in Mississippi, not just the northern areas. We're talking central Mississippi, even parts of southern Mississippi could get at least some dusting of snow breaking out coming up on into Sunday morning. As this moves across, we got rain on the south side. We're in this transition, and that's where we get into that warm air aloft, and we get that nasty ice storm developing in and around the Carolinas. That's where they've got that ice storm watches and warnings in place, and then snow on the north side. So let's take a look at some of the totals, some of the snowfall totals from the latest high resolution model guidance. It only goes out 48 hours. I wish it went out further than that, but yeah, there's the indication. Look at the graph at the bottom of the screen. We've got all those areas in gray. That's anywhere from a trace to possibly about 1.5 inches. So we're not talking hardly any accumulations in Dallas-Fort Worth, but still probably a dusting or two in and around the Metroplex, especially northeast. But you start getting into places into Arkansas, yeah, several inches of snow as far south as Louisiana here, and that a little bit higher amounts as you get into northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, and as you get into northern Georgia here, and then especially northern South Carolina, with that heavier snow starting to develop as this system continues to head eastward. And as it does, it's packing a punch and bringing the snow and the ice along in its wake. There's the radar depiction by the time we get into that Sunday morning time frame, about 10 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. We've got heavier snow flying around the Mississippi area. That'll eventually get into portions of Alabama here, and then Tennessee. I think the middle of Tennessee gets clocked with this system. I mean, some of these areas easily 4 to 8 inches. I wouldn't rule out somewhere in Tennessee, at least in the middle part, we could be looking at possibly upwards to 10 inches of snowfall from this particular system. But there's going to be a kind of a warm nose, kind of a transition period in and around the Tennessee area, because we've got that warm surge coming from the Gulf here. That's where you're going to cause that overrunning conditions. And we've got heavier amounts on either side, with snow really with ice breaking out with that cold air damming, and that's going to break out the significant ice threat in and around the Carolina area, North Carolina. I think it's mostly probably sleet, ice, and then some snow. A good chunk of the Carolinas, it's just going to be downright nasty and dangerous in these areas with all the coating on the trees. I'm expecting numerous power outages in this area. Travel is going to be net to nearly impossible in this area as you get deeper in the day on Sunday, especially going into Monday after all this is said and done. This looks to be a pretty significant event that is on the table with a lot of impacts to come. And if you have any plans to travel or fly out of this area, it's going to be next to impossible to fly out on Monday. After your weekend festivities in and around this area, because there's just not going to be you can't get out in these conditions. And then as this continues to drive up into portions of Kentucky, getting into Virginia, going into West Virginia, that will continue to take the snow and the ice with it. With that heavier snow trailing on the backside, you got rain along the coast here, and then that heavier snow will head up to portions into DC. We'll eventually get into PA. It starts to snow in and around the Pittsburgh area, gets into central PA. This heads up to portions of Jersey, and as we get into the day, in the morning hours on Monday, yeah, there's that heavier snow really starting to crank out over PA, which is a good swath of easily 8 to 12 inches in and around the Pennsylvania area, going into upstate New York, northern New Jersey, getting into Long Island with some snow, and then a little bit heavier amounts as you go into portions of Connecticut, especially as you go into Massachusetts, some snow along into Rhode Island, but still most of that along the coast is going to be in the form of rain. You are going to be seeing some snow, but mainly it's the heavier amounts, at least, are going to be inland going into Vermont and New Hampshire, and especially as you go into Maine. There's just going to be a lot of energy and a lot of water vapor that's going to be pumped in the system. And it's going to be about in a 6-hour increments as this continues to fishtail up the coast here. This is midnight on Sunday, coming into the Delmarva area with that very high water content just pumping in. I think that's when it starts to crank out with those 1 to 2 inch snowfall rates and up times 2 to 3 inches. So over a 6-hour period, yeah, you could get those 8 to 10 inch snowfall totals stacking up in a big way with those snowfall rates in and around this area. And this will continue to lift up the coast as we go through the day on Monday, because as we transition into that 9-10 o'clock time frame on Monday, that continues to right up the coast. We've got snow on the backside. The darker the purples, the darker the indications of the heavier snows breaking out in PA, breaking out in upstate New York, getting into Vermont and New Hampshire, getting into Maine, especially getting into Maine by then, as this continues to right up the coast with that heavier snow, all the purples in place with that heavier snow into the Northeast, into northern New England. And then you get that backside event as well with all the snow that's going to break out beforehand in southern and central portions of Ohio, and then as far into West Virginia with that backside moisture as well. And it doesn't really end until around Tuesday time frame, because you still get these feeder bands coming in on the backside with already waiting in the wings with our next setup of colder weather and more snow going to be flying as we get towards the middle of next week. But man, the ice threat is going to be a dangerous threat. Here, as I kind of zoomed into Greenville, South Carolina, you can see the map here where we're looking at significant totals of ice, freezing rain, sleet, ice, South Carolina, especially into North Carolina, getting into portions of Virginia and West Virginia. Heavy mixed precipitation, total snow accumulations of 6 to 12 inches of snow in and around over North Carolina foothills. 2 to 5 inches of sleet, snow, and ice are expected for the Northeast, Georgia, and South Carolina foothills through the western portions of Charlotte metro area into the Northwest Piedmont of North Carolina, portions of upstate South Carolina, Northeast Georgia, and the western Piedmont and foothills of North Carolina. Essentially from 6 p.m. Saturday to 8 a.m. Monday, travel could be nearly impossible as over the entire area for at least scattered power outages and a lot of tree damage in and around, or likely across the Piedmont area due to all the ice and the gusty winds that we're really expecting, because we're expecting some very high winds as this system will move south and move east and then eventually head up northeast. But there's your snowfall totals from the latest European. All these areas into the pink and darker white shaded areas, that you're looking at your 8 to 12 inch snowfall totals. So anywhere in the middle Tennessee, going in around the Appalachian Trail here, heading up the coast into PA. I think Pittsburgh gets easily 8 to 12 inches out of this system, and this will head up the coast. So numerous areas of 8 to 12 inch snowfall totals as you get up into the mid-Atlantic, the Northeast, and New England here. And here's the latest at GFS, kind of implies the same thing. It doesn't have it as far south as the European, but I do feel as new runs will come in with the indications of that HRRR model again, pulling it further south. I think that's the trend going forward. It'll be south and a little bit east as new data will roll in. So just because you're not getting, you know, some of the higher amounts along the coast doesn't mean it's going to end up like that, because I do feel some of these higher amounts will push a little bit further to the coastline area in the days to come as this system nears that area and as it continues to ride up the coast. But let's break this down and kind of give you an idea of the latest European ensembles of probabilities of 6 inches or greater snowfall areas. And this is your probability anywhere from Tennessee up the Appalachian Trail here into PA, going into upstate New York. All these areas in red here, that's 100% chance of at least 6 inches or higher in and around the Des Moines area. These are greater probabilities of a foot or snow or higher, and those are indications in and around portions of North Carolina here, getting up into PA, into upstate New York, and especially along the lakes where it could be a lot more lake enhanced snowfall. But that's the latest European ensemble guidance of all the models saying, hey, it's pretty much a guarantee thing where these areas could be picking up a foot or more snow. Now let's take a look at some of the cold, because beyond that, we've been highlighting this snowstorm for several days now. But after that, I mean, it's, you know, it's winter. We've got a lot of cold air, especially for the east. So this is the next 5-6 days for, you know, getting into the central and eastern 2/3 of the U.S. That's where all the colder anomalies are. It starts heating up out west with those above average temperatures. But as we get deeper into January, from that 21st to 26th time frame, this is the latest European ensembles, it turns really cold as we get into that time frame with these well above average temperature anomalies. But it's east of eastern U.S. and then warm air western U.S. And then we got, even again at the end of the month, that cold air continues to remain in place for the east. So this is just the beginning for you guys in the east of a more substantial cool down and a lot of cold air on the table. And there's even indications that this could actually even last through the middle of February. So yes, hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video. Definitely hit the subscribe button if you hadn't already, and catch me in the next update where I protect you before and after the storm.